Nations first to become healthy before they become wealthy.
Why do you think healthcare is so inaccessible in Pakistan? And what made you take on this behemoth of a challenge?
150 million people in Pakistan don't have access to health. Most of this money is going to the top 2%. It's not getting distributed in the economy, and that's how the economy works.
Our guest today, Adnan Siddiqui, is a technologist, serial entrepreneur, and former HP and Amazon executive who believe innovation should have a clear goal: impact. As the CEO and co-founder of EZShifa, he is leading a healthcare revolution to make quality care affordable for millions.
So I got to have 25,000 females operating these clinics, right? I want to bring them in, teach them how to run this machine, get them started, and then give them online training at my clinics. Morality comes after prosperity. I have a couple of million in my bank account. I'm set for life.
In this episode, we cover how do we drive large-scale change through research-driven innovation.
So I think this is an opportunity, a threat, the best of times or the worst of times, however you want to see it. The good part is that we are living his dream. The bad part is
Adnan, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's cut to the meat of it, right? Why do you think healthcare is so inaccessible in Pakistan? And what made you take on this behemoth of a challenge?
right. Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great opportunity, and thanks for being here. Healthcare in Pakistan. Nations first to become healthy before they become wealthy. And there are many aspects of Pakistan where we think we need improvement. And healthcare is one part of it. 150 million people in Pakistan don't have access to healthcare. And the only significant factor, when we ran our DOE to identify the factors responsible for this, there was only one significant factor, and that was cost. The good and the bad is cost is the only factor that's hampering us or stopping us from growing. And the cost, if I may be bold enough to make the statement, is artificially inflated in healthcare. The things don't have to be that expensive as they are. And I can cite many examples, and that'll show unnecessarily expensive things. And I think using the technology, we can drive the cost. And that's one of the major reasons I have taken this thing on. Being a technologist, I think nowadays technology is the key factor. If you look at the 100 companies, the largest companies in the world, 50 of those companies you will find they are technology-driven companies. And they grew up from a garage or a basement or something in the last 20, 30 years. And same thing with us. We started very, very small and almost, I wouldn't say a basement, but almost a basement. And we have grown. And the reason I'm sitting here and saying in next 10 years, we're going to disrupt healthcare in Pakistan because the technology is on our back. In the absence of technology, I wouldn't dare make that statement. Mm-hmm. But being a technologist, doing this for the last 40 years, I think it's very doable. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. And we are in almost in our infancy. We have only been out for less than 4 years. And within 4 years, I'm saying I'm going to disrupt the healthcare system that caters to 250 million people. That's a bold statement. And I don't think I'm hesitating in making that statement.
More power to you. So out of 250 million approximately population that Pakistan has, 150 of them don't have the accessibility. Can you just elaborate a little about what do you mean by accessibility?
So I think one of the major problems we have is the income to healthcare ratio is too high. Most of the people in the country, I would say, let's say the government has set up the standard, the salary should be 35,000. Let's make it harder. It's 50,000. Somebody's making 50,000 rupees per month. If there's a trip to the doctor, you go to the doctor, pay the doctor, get the medication in the lab and all that. By the time you come home, you have already spent $3,000 rupees. And that means almost 10% of your income goes to visit a doctor. That ratio is too high. And that's the factor that's driving people away. So there are two parts in it. One is accessibility and affordability. We call it accessibility. People, those who are in the cities, right? You and I, we live in bigger houses. Each one of our houses have 4 or 5 people, residents, and there are 4 or 5 service people. Well, those service people can't afford the doctor. My driver takes me to the doctor, but that driver cannot go to the doctor, cannot afford it. So affordability is the key. I give you, in lots of villages and all that, accessibility is a problem. But accessibility again is due to the affordability factor. So it doesn't matter how you slice it. At the end of the day, it's the cost is stupid. We just need to keep driving the cost, and that's what our mission is. Just take the cost out, and you'll make it accessible, healthcare accessible.
And what about the infrastructure? The basic infrastructure. So you mentioned villages. So those villages probably won't even have the access to the clean water or electricity. So how does that play into the equation?
So it took the world about 100 years to get the telephones, right? You have to put the cables in with the cables and all that, the overhead wires and everything else. You build the infrastructure, only then you were able to get the phone. Africa did not take 100 years to get the phones. They jumped from nothing to mobile phones. Within 10 years, everybody in Africa had the phones, right? The good part now, I don't need the infrastructure to bring the change. All I need is the technology. As long as I have the Wi-Fi available, I'm there. So the beauty of the technology, especially the cutting edge, the progress we have made in communication in the last 10 years, that has bridged that gap. And so that's why we will be able to take healthcare to them. By using the technology, we are shifting the paradigm. For all thousands of years, when you get sick, you used to go to the doctor, right? You will travel to the doctor. We are saying, no, don't do that anymore. We will bring healthcare to you. And so nobody will have to travel more than a couple of blocks to get access to decent healthcare. At least I can promise you in the next 10 years, everybody will have access to primary healthcare within a walking distance.
That is so powerful and such an audacious goal. And it's actually has a great potential for impact in terms of, making a lot of human lives better. So you said that you are a technologist and you've been doing it for the past 40 years. So why don't we just start from the very beginning, Who is Adnan Siddiqui?
Oh.
And when and how it all came about?
So, I graduated from NED about 100 years ago. And the same year, I worked actually in Fuji Fertilizer for about a year in Darki. And then I left for States. I did my master's and MBA. I started working my PhD. I worked for Hewlett Packard for about 20 years. And when I left HP, I was a senior director of R&D. I tried to convince HP to switch from making computers and servers and go towards robotics. And I, of course, failed miserably. I couldn't move the needle. So I left HP and joined Amazon Robotics. I worked with them for a few years. And then after 35, 40 years, one fine morning, I was thinking, why I'm putting up with all this corporate crap that I don't need to. Being single, no liability, no child support, no alimony, I decided I'm going to quit, and I retired. While I was in retirement, I started a nonprofit organization called the Startup Council, and start helping young kids start their own startups. It took me 40 years to find the courage and the resources to quit and start my own. And I don't want the young people to wait 35, 40 years. So with that mission, I started the Startup Council. And it was kind of a pretty unique idea, since we're talking about this. It was more of an accelerator program. And I did not ask people to come to me with a PowerPoint or the business plan. I don't care. Come and tell me, what problem are you solving? And if it's a viable product, the second question is, why are you solving it? How are you emotionally tied to this problem? If you can pass these two tests, We'll pull you in. We'll help you make the PowerPoint. We'll help you make the business plan. We'll get you build the team. We'll get you the initial financing. And that's the model. So I have about 77 startups registered with Startup Council. But when I stumbled over EZShifa, where we found out 150 million people don't have access to healthcare, and this is a reported number, and I'm going to keep repeating this number. This is reported by World Bank. Another unofficial number is about 100 million people file for bankruptcy in Pakistan each year because of the medical bills. And since there is no concept of bankruptcy in Pakistan, you literally have to sell your house, you have to sell your car, you have to sell your wife's jewelry, get everything pawned, so you can pay medical bills. And I was talking to the taxi driver. Actually, I was going to one of the hospitals. And when the taxi driver dropped me, he goes, "Sir, do you work here?" I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, my nephew or somebody died in this hospital. They would not give me the body until I give them the papers of this car." So, I mean, this is the type of stuff that's going on. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. And when I talk about the 100 million people, I think in a very non-scientific way, most of this money is going to the top 2%. It's not getting distributed in the economy, and that's how the economy works. So that's creating the gap between the rich and the poor. So if we can stop this bleeding somehow, I don't think we will need any more economic stimulus in the country. We will grow on our own without any other push.
You touch on something so deep, which really sort of resonated with me. We do not have the documented sort of, the money movement in a lot of walks, like a lot of ways we do go about our daily sort of living. So you're talking about somebody who falls ill and now they don't have the saving, they don't have the financial literacy, and they may not have a lot of collateral. So the only thing they're left with is to either save their loved ones or, just put their house, probably the primary residence.
Yeah.
And in your, that interaction with the driver, that was his livelihood. He has to put that just to release the body or just to get the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
That is...
It's happening. So I don't want to mull over this thing too much. Yes, it's a fact of life. It's been happening. Park it. Now go solve it. Let's not, just keep beating the dead horse here. Yeah, it's happening for 75 years. Screw it. Move on. Now you and I have the opportunity to look at it and see how many ways we're going to solve this problem, how quickly we can do this. And I think that's our opportunity and that's our challenge.
So how are you solving that problem?
What we have done is we looked at the whole spectrum of healthcare, the primary, the secondary, the tertiary, right? What we looked at it and what I saw was there is no systematic effort of providing people primary healthcare. Lots of people are building hospitals, right? Secondary emergency rooms and all that stuff when somebody's critical. But damn it, don't let them to be critical. Just solve the darn problem before it gets there. So we are focusing on primary care. So let somebody else work on the secondary and the tertiary and all that stuff. We are just we have our blinders on and we're going to put the primary care. And our vision is for primary care, when you go to the doctor, there are 4 costs involved. First is the travel, second is the doctor, third is the medication, and then the lab, right? Our goal is to have combined all of these 4 costs should be less than $500. So that your travel should be close enough that you don't have to go anywhere. Doctor should be $100, $200. Your medication should be generic, $100, $200, rupees. And then the labs. We are developing our own non-invasive diagnostics using AI and the indigenous developed products, and we're going to drive the cost of the diagnostics. For primary care, in next few years, we will give you $500 or less for primary care. And so now we developed a system. This system has to have 2 things. It has to be sustainable and scalable, right? The good part about Pakistan is there are tons of people doing tons of charity, right? I mean, you and I can sit down and make a list of 50 organizations doing a lot of great work. Unfortunately, none of them is moving the needle. None of them have deep enough pockets to provide decent service to majority of the people. I mean, pick any hospital, that charity hospital. They are servicing 2,000 people a day. Great. 5,000 people a day. My need in the country is 2 million appointments a day. And none of these people can anywhere close where I can say they're making a significant difference. They're not. So we have to come up with a model that's scalable and sustainable. And charity cannot solve this problem. Charity cannot solve this problem. 220, 250 million people. Even Elon Musk sitting at the White House cannot solve this problem. He doesn't have enough money to do that. So we have to come up with an answer. Take the cost out. So our model, the digital clinic that we have, we sell this clinic to almost anybody. You can buy it and start your own service. You don't have to be a qualified physician or, for that matter, any medical background. We can help you get there. So you can provide a service and make a living. So that's an Uber model, right? Anybody can buy a car, provide a service and make a decent living. You can do the same thing with digital clinic now. You can buy our clinic, provide the service and make a living. Now this is sustainable, right? Using the Uber model, everybody can pitch in some money and amount is not that much. $1,200, $1,300, that's about it to start your own business. And with that sort of money, you can scale it. So if you go back and look at a lot of companies, they have worked for 6, 7 years and you ask them, oh yeah, we are doing great. We have 10 locations. Big deal. We have been working for 3 years and we have 350 locations. We are planning on being 1,000 by the end of 2025. Total need in the country is about 50,000. And we think we're going to hit that number somewhere 2030, 31, 32. And that's when we are looking at the universal healthcare in Pakistan.
Wow. So let me just give it back to you what I understood. So currently, in terms of driving the cost down, you're going to bring it down to 500 rupees.
Yes.
Per visit, so everybody can afford it. And those are the 4 verticals you talked about: the travel, the doctor's sort of like consultation fee. The third one you talked about was the medication, and the fourth one you talked about is the lab. So you are going to combine all of it and bring the cost down to less than 500, so people can learn early prevention or learn to actually not ignore a problem, which ultimately then goes later on to be the big problem, and they end up getting critically ill and all that good stuff. So you are just hitting on the first principles. You're hitting on what's needed. You know, the prevention is better than cure per se. That's the analogy you're driving. And for that, you have these digital clinics in which you have incorporated the technology. So you are going to get people to sort of buy this business model, which will be sustainable in itself, that they can still charge less to people and then people can have the access. So how the doctors are going to feel about that?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. What is happening right now in the country, right? We are servicing the top 10, 15% of the people. Let's say, be generous, and 20% of the people at the top. 80% of the people, they're just surviving on prayers. You know, I just cannot afford it. If I bring the cost down, I will grow this 12, 14% to 50% in the next 10 years. So the doctors will have more business than they can imagine. So instead of sucking the blood out of the top 10%, give them a relief, increase the market to 50%, quadruple their market. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's very simple math. And so let's step on it and let's do it.
So you already have 350 of those digital kiosks.
Clinics.
They have been deployed all over Pakistan.
Correct.
What are the demographics right now that you have covered already?
So we are in Gilgit. We are at the base camp of K2. We are in GB, KPK, Punjab, Balochistan, Sindh. So Punjab, yeah, we are across the board. And one of the reasons was when I came back about 2.5 to 3 years ago, we were ignorant. I had no clue how this whole system in Pakistan works. So we did a shotgun approach. Whoever called us, okay, I need a clinic, we just installed it. And that's how we started, ended up in Gilgit and Dubai, Gilgit and Iskardu and all those places and Tharparkar and everywhere else. For the last 6 months now, we are focusing mostly in Karachi, and we are building the model here, testing our different things. And as they mature, then we're going to scale those across the country in targeted cities.
Interesting. I want to hold this thought here, this conversation here. I want you to bring us back to your experience at HP. And you at Amazon and living away from Pakistan. You mentioned something so interesting that you were ignorant when you came to Pakistan because you obviously been out of the ecosystem. You didn't really understand how things worked, and this is something I'm going through right now myself, right? So you are a couple of years ahead in understanding and in relearning, right? So how do you see having created a mental model per se, in a developed economy where this probably wouldn't even be the problem to be solving, or it wouldn't even be the consideration or an imagination. So how do you get all of those experiences that you had while working for those Fortune 500 companies, and then coming back and adjusting? So can you just shed some light on that, that how did you find it? What was the transition? What was the key highlights? I know there are a lot of questions in one, but I just want you to just share your experiences and what's coming to mind.
So one of the biggest challenges that I faced, and I'm still facing it, I'm not out of the woods yet. In the States, all those 40 years, when I'm sitting in a business meeting, having a conversation, and there's a problem on the table, and everybody is trying to solve that problem. And if I'm talking to you, I never had to evaluate what you're saying is right or wrong. Are you blowing the smoke, or there's some validity in what you're saying? It's given. If you're telling me something, that's the way it is. I don't need to think twice. So we spend all our energy solving the problem. I learned it the hard way. I spend 80% of my time now sitting across the table, evaluating as the guy's telling me, is how much of this is a story and how much of this is true. So 80% of my resource, I'm not the smartest kid on the block, so 80% of my mental capacity is being wasted on evaluating things that is just not useful. Maybe 20%. I never realized the value of honest society until I moved back, right? Mom has been telling us all our lives, right? Jhoot mat bolo. Actually, I asked my mom several times when I was a kid, why not? She could not articulate why it is important. Now I totally understand, after living in the West for so many years and now living here, the power of honesty, why it makes society a better place. So this is one of the major issues that I found. Another thing that I learned was when I first came back, so I'm an engineer, of course. We are sitting at NIC, NED is next to it. I'm an NED graduate. So in those days, it was very, very difficult to get into NED. So if you are an NED, you are elite. I had this notion, okay, I'm smart. So when I came back, the taxi driver is treating me as if I'm an idiot. If I go to the restaurant, they're messing up with my bill, adding $200-300, which is not a big deal, and I don't care, right? But they think I'm an idiot, and that just drove me nuts. My blood pressure was high, 10-15 points every dang day. Then one day, I realized the gap between the rich and the poor is so significant. Actually, I was sitting someplace eating dinner one day, and I saw these kids running behind the cars with the menu. And it just dawned on me, the amount of money they're going to pay for this meal in the car, this kid makes in a whole month 10, 15,000 rupees, whatever that turned out to be. If I expect that kid to behave morally, no, it's not his fault, right? So we should not do that. We should not set that expectation. So since that day, my blood pressure is down. I'm very calm. I don't care. Have no expectations, and there won't be any disappointments in life. So these are two major things: the just society, honest society, and the gap between the rich and the poor. And then we expect the poor to behave morally. Not good.
So what should we do?
First, we just need to accept the way things are. One, then do our part in bringing the change. Take the responsibility, step up, and see what we can do to change. We cannot, and I talk to people constantly, and they constantly tell me, oh, isko to ye karna chahiye, they should do this, he should do this, or they, all of this. And I'm going, that's fine. Tell me, what are you doing? What is your role in bringing the change? And I think that is the missing element. If you just say, okay, fine, I accept this is a fact, this is how things are, park it. Come back to yourself and see within your level or circle of influence how much change you can bring. That's all we need.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So many beautiful insights you just shared, and oftentimes there is so much rush in everything. There is so much going on that we don't really think about these small little things, right? So this beautiful nugget that you just shared, that you're going to be paying perhaps 8,000-9,000 on the meal while sitting in the car, and that child is probably going to earn that, that guy who's working a month, and then he's going to go home probably, or if it's a father, going to go and see their little children and not being able to buy them a little gift or something extra. Yeah, what kind of society is this, right? And then we expect them to behave. And that's why, I was just saying this to someone the other day, right? People are crossing the road like it's like a highway, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a motorway you are on, and people are just literally crossing the road as if they have that wish. And even when people are crossing the road in the middle of the road, in the national sort of a road, they look at you in the eyes as if like, you know what, bruv, you watch out, and if you want to hit me, just hit me, because I'm just, no desire to actually take extra precautions to just be safe.
Yeah.
And when you think about what you just shared and what I'm just talking about here, you just realize, and when you ask enough whys, if you have time, you realize the bases are not set right? And how do you just sort of work towards those things, Do you think many people would even stop to think with what's going in on top of that than social media?
So I think the problem is just, in my humble opinion, whatever it's worth, right? Morality comes after prosperity.
Morality comes after prosperity.
I'm sitting here making all these bold statements. So I should do this. I should be honest. I have a couple of million in my bank account. I'm set for life. Tomorrow, you take all that away from me, put me on the street, I will behave exactly the way they are. No difference. I miss 2 meals, all my high horse is going to die in a minute. I will be behaving exactly the same way. So unless we give people prosperity, the term prosperity is a little broad in this context. Prosperity is not money, not only money. Money is, yes, you got to have enough to make a living. That's one. At the same time, law and order, consistency, justice, right? Peace of mind. All of this has to come into play. Once you have that, people behave differently. Nowadays, unfortunately in Pakistan, and I'm not trying to be political here, just stating a fact, we are going through a major crisis. There is no law and order, right? Especially if you live in Karachi. I mean, we go out constantly thinking, should I take my phone with me? I walk from my sister's to the other sister's house. I leave my wallet, leave my phone, and then I walk almost bare naked, just go there and come back, and otherwise I'll lose it. So law and order is an issue. Consistency is an issue. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So all of this is playing a role into this. So we have almost an uphill battle to fix this thing. And it's a chicken or the egg, right? Should I bring the prosperity or all this? So I think we just have to keep fighting. Each individual, those who have the capacity, they have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to do their part. And not just lip service, right? Oh, namaz padho, dua karo. Nothing against that. That's great, wonderful. Do that. Damn it, show some action, right? Critical thinking, build the structures, build organizations for the right reasons. And I think that's what's, but it's going to happen. I mean, I'm very positive. You will see a significant change in the next 5 years. You will see a significant change, both economically and morally. You will see that that tide is already changing. The tide is happening. We just need to be patient.
What are those indicators that you're seeing?
I grew up in a middle class family. We had a dining table, about 8 or 10 people, and the dining table was almost always full at dinner time. And we had conversations, next vacation is going to be at such and such place, the next wedding is coming up, and who's going to wear what, right? What is our next car going to be like, where the next vacation is going to be? I remember clearly those were the conversations we used to have. Now when I sit down with my nieces and nephews and their kids, right? Within 10, 15 minutes, the conversation is how we are going to fix the world. We hardly ever have conversations what the next house is going to look like, what the next car is going to be, what are we going to wear at the next wedding. We are constantly talking how we are going to change the world. And you talk to young people, exactly the same way. A friend of mine came yesterday to the office and he apologized. Our meeting was scheduled the day before. He said, I couldn't come. There was an emergency at the house. And I said, what was the emergency? He said his daughter found a stray cat, and that baby cat was dying. She threw a hissy fit that I need to take this baby to the doctor to stop it from dying. I can remember when I was a kid, I never would have done that. Young generation is different. Oh, we are blaming them that they are this, that, or the other. Not their fault. We just need to look at ourselves and help them, guide them, instead of frowning at them. So tomorrow is better. Tomorrow is beautiful.
So oftentimes when we're pointing the finger, there are 3 pointing back at us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's a very profound message. And I do also believe, and I have similar sort of sentiments, that youth have had enough, right? They don't want to be disgraced. They don't want to continue on the way things have happened in the past, decades. And I think having the accessibility you talked about, not to the healthcare, but having the accessibility to the social media and the world and how other societies are living for a very long period due to that, absence or not having that technology, people didn't really know. They didn't know any better, right? So we just kind of conformed to whatever was our exposure. There is a saying that I often sort of quote, once illuminated, human mind can never go back to darkness. So when you never really had the substance to process, when you didn't have the like the comparison per se. You were like, okay, maybe it is what it is, and this is what my world is, and this is what I must accept. But the youth have that access where they're like, we're not having any of it. This is no way of living. So we are going to actually bring about. So I think this indicator should not be underestimated. And again, if you get somehow, so I'm big into entrepreneurship, but my next question to you is, you talked about the Startup Council, and I want to talk about that as well, right? If somehow that very youth, which is driven intrinsically from the motivation that they have, that they don't want to be like this no more, if they are taught how to be in the founder mode, where they own the problems, where they own, as you just mentioned, right, that we do our part, we're going to do what we can do, what we have in our capacity. And if the chain reaction is driven from that, more than half of your problems are going to be solved in a jiffy, right? So, how do you sort of deliver that message to the youth? Because you mentioned, right, that we messed it up, right? Parents still have a lot of influence over their children. And then my question is getting a little longer, but I want to give you a little bit of a substance to what I'm really indicating towards. Because they have invested in the kids already, they want the ROI. And the safest way to get the ROI is for them to go and get a job, or for them to just go and be miserable in whether they like what the work they're doing or not, and then ultimately get that ROI. And now I'm not saying the parents are mean, but that's what they understood. So they basically, take the shirt off their back, give it to the children, made sure that they got to this degree level. And now when the time comes for the return, children are like, no, we have been actually made aware. This is not what we want to do. And now there is a big sort of like a divide in the generations. And you want to be empathizing towards the parents in the society, but at the same time, you want that youth to actually try entrepreneurship, or just try and solve the problems where they weren't solved previously. How do you see things in that light?
In last 100 years, the world has changed so much that this did not happen in 5,000 years or 10,000 years for that matter. If I go back to Mohenjo-daro, from there to 17th century, world changed very, very little. They're still riding the horses, still shooting the bow and arrow, right? They're still living in outhouses and all that stuff. This transformation that is happening in last 100 years, we have no friggin' clue, right? The world is changing so fast. And I was guilty of that at one point of time in my life, that I went in and thought, my father should have said this. My father should have done this. Why didn't he tell me this, right? Well, they did with the knowledge that they had the best they could, right? So parents, they are saying what they think is the best with the limited knowledge that they have without the exposure, right? So I think we need to park that. And for the youth, my thing is, up to the age of 18, 19, 20, I will give you the pass to blame your parents. At the age of 21, you lost your pass. Now, stand up, put on the big boy's shoes, and move on. Now bring the change. Take the responsibility. Now you have the knowledge, you have the awareness, and bring the change. Drive it. These kids have a difficult time. Let's take the example of product development in Pakistan. I have yet to see anyone who has developed a product and they brought it to market. I have yet to meet anyone. They have no clue. And then they are teaching entrepreneurship and the product development and all that stuff. If you have not done it, you have no idea what you're talking about. So we don't have role models right now in society. The transition is happening so fast, everybody is struggling with change. I could hear my grandfather make the statement these kids are da 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 da. Then I heard my father say the same thing, right? Then my generation is saying the same thing. And it's not that they are any different. The things are moving so fast, we just have to catch up. And it's now at our level, now we are thinking, we understand the rate of change, and we just need to catch up. We just need to accelerate our learning so we can stay attuned with the program. So it is a difficult time for the whole world, not just us. And so we just need to stop, take a deep breath, and see how things are shaping, and be patient. I think the world itself is heading in the right direction. Today, the world is the best it has ever been. The world has never been as good as it is today. 1402, two Muslim forces, they fought, and both in the name of God, right? In one day, they killed 45,000 people, 30,000 from one, 15,000 from the other. Temur Lung against Ottoman, right? Ottoman lost. They lost 30,000 people. Temur lost 15,000 people in one day. We don't see that anymore. We don't see that anymore. Temur captured a city, and they were not behaving properly. He killed everybody in that city. In 1967, during the Vietnam War, one major, he was kind of disgusted, and he ordered the village to be burned. He was court-martialed. So, I mean, we are heading in the right direction. The atrocities are still there. It's not perfect yet. Things are better. The poverty has diminished in the world. There's a speculation that besides few countries, there's no poverty left in the world. You and I can go back how my great-grandfather used to live, my grandfather used to live, my father used to live, we live, and the kids are living. Everybody's standard of living is getting better. So, I mean, how can we say the world is getting bad? No. One more thing, there's another perception. Morally, we are corrupt. Bull. Morally, we are the best today, when I say we, right? Globally, not Pakistan.
Human as a race.
Yes. We are, today, morally, we are the best we have ever been. We have never been, on the average, morally so better than, people go back and say, people in 11th century, 13th century, 14th century, they were this, that, or the other. Read the history. Jesus Christ. They are not even close. Not even close.
You know what's coming to mind? It's so beautiful to be able to zoom out and see where you are on that horizon, on that plane. Even if you were to just, go back not so long ago, you will be able to see what you have today. It may not be the worst that as you think So zooming out is coming to mind, right? That, being able to zoom out and then zoom back in and then zoom out and then zoom back in to carve your own path. And that is your responsibility because you've been given with the brain cells, and if you can use it for all the other reasons to actually, like entertain yourself or just live the easy life, you should be able to do all of those things as well. So I'm hearing that. Can you just zoom in for me a little bit about the product development side you talked about, that in Pakistan, how people are generally going about it, and what is it the right way to do it? And if you are doing that product development, having worked on a director level with HP and leading the research and robotics, which is just fascinating and amazing, right? Having that impact-driven element when you are creating that product, or like product discovery or product development per se, what would be your take, or what is the comparison that you would like for our audience to take away with this conversation? Yeah.
So I'm focusing on medical, primary care. I'm surprised Pakistan is the third largest importer of oximeter and blood pressure monitors. These are simple devices. Any of the NED graduates can build the darn thing in a week, right? Why we are spending so much foreign exchange importing it rather than manufacturing it here, right? At our company, we purchase a weighing scale. It costs us anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 rupees for the weighing scale. I've hired an electronics engineer a couple of months ago. Within 2 weeks, and I'm pushing him, product development, think about things and all that stuff. Maybe you can accuse me of sowing the seed. He came back and said, this machine, this is 6,000 rupees. We have a chair for the patient to sit on. I can put 4 strain gauges in the chair and I can give you the weight. I don't need this machine. So that 6,000 rupees machine, I can make one now for less than 500 rupees. These are the small things that we can do and start developing indigenous products. Take the cost out, make it affordable, build it in-house, and then start exporting it. I think the opportunity is phenomenal. At EZShifa, my vision is that in next 10 years, I'm going to keep hiring these young people from colleges before they graduate, work with them for 6-7 months. If they graduate and they feel like they can want to continue, I'll hire them. And then for next 2 to 3 years, I'll work with them and help them start their own startup. And then I'll push them out and buy their product from them. So they will be my supplier. So I'll be their first customer, right? I want to do this 50 times in the next 10 years. And I think it's very doable. I have a little bit of an advantage. I've been developing products from different sides. So it'll be easier for me to do that. And hopefully people will catch on, and then other people will replicate this. So in the next 10 years, I think you will see a significant shift.
So you're introducing a new playbook where we can actually create these indigenous products, but tapping into the students earlier on, and then train them first, and then let them off with whatever they are passionate about, build it, and then you're going to actually be their customer. So basically creating that entire ecosystem.
Right.
So play big on an ecosystem.
Right. So this is one part of it, right? The second part is we are taking these digital clinics. At my digital clinic, we have 350 now. We're going to be 1,000 inshallah by the end of this year. Total need in the country is 50,000. I want 25,000 of those to be owned by females. Because a healthcare system with our male-female issue in society, we got to have a separate section for females. So I got to have 25,000 females operating these clinics. Unfortunate part is, in the villages, if they have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, and they have limited resources, they will spend the money educating the boy, not the girls. So if I want those 25,000 females, unfortunately, these are going to be those 2 girls with no education or anything, right? I want to bring them in, teach them how to run this machine, get them started, and then give them online training at my clinics. So if there are 8 hours there, they're entertaining 20 patients a day, which is about 3-4 hours. They're sitting idle for 6 hours. During those 6 hours, they should be taking online classes, improving their skills. So 6 months or 3 months, 4 months later, they know how to operate ECG. Now with the consultation, they make some money from consultation. With the ECG, they can make more money. 3 months later, they learn how to use ultrasound. Now they can make another 200 or 300 rupees. So they can keep enhancing their skills. You fast forward the same model. You take the nursing course, 3 years long. right? 2 years, 3 years, whatever that is. Break those into 12 segments, 3 months each. Give them online training at our digital clinic for 3 months. Over the weekends, they go out and practice. 3 months later, they take the test. Do that for 3 years without going to college, without spending millions of rupees, staying there, making money, practicing healthcare, and now I can qualify 5,000 nurses each year. We don't need to spend millions of dollars building these universities that we are doing right now. Universities are obsolete. I don't know why we're doing that anyway. So use the technology, use this platform to bridge the human resource gap that we have. And we have tons of free human resource. We can export this resource. And that's what the world is looking for. Unfortunately, we are building about 33 million kids, those who are not in the school. In the next 15 years, they're going to be mature adults with no skills, no education. They will be a burden, not for us, but for the whole global community. Mm-hmm. So we have a responsibility to somehow bring them into mainstream. So I think that's another part of it. The third part that we are working on is we are bringing the doctors in. All the doctors, especially coming from the middle class or the lower middle class, they work very, very hard to get into medical college. Once they graduate, they don't have the resources to do anything else, right? I'm bringing them in. I'm asking them to stay with me. I'm training them every 2 weeks to enhance their skills. At the same time, I'm giving them resources to prepare themselves to go to UK, Ireland, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, wherever they want to go. I'll prep them and I'll push them out after 5 years. They will go 10, 15 years later, some of them will come back and they will make a huge difference in the community. So, I mean, we are working on 3, 4 different paths. Let's see how many of these will stick.
Creating an ecosystem, I think this is exactly how you would partner with the machine, in my opinion.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So you are basically ahead of time. What you're doing is you are getting the next wave of these medical professionals, because there are a lot of talks that are going on in the industry anyway, that the way we have seen or the way we would have the job specs in the organizations, right, all of it are going to be just revised altogether, right? So you're already working on it with the product, which is going to generate revenue from day dot, is going to give the utility to the end, sort of like, the patients in this case. Wow. What is the key highlight, actually, which you think got you to think like the way you think now while you were working with HP or while you were working with Amazon or living in the developed world? What do you think got you to be able to just formulate something so beautiful that you're working on right now?
Because I'm smart. I'm single. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids. I have plenty of time. No, I have no idea. I don't know. I think sometimes, and you can probably tell I'm not a very religious person, but sometimes I think I was prepared for this, and someday I will be asked, okay, we prepared you, we gave you all these experiences, and it's time for you to play ball and make a change. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe that.
So, such an oxymoron, I suppose. You're saying that you're not very religious, yet you are actually doing something. Which is the ultimate accountability, right?
Right, yeah.
That is such a beautiful. I want to take a moment here, right? This is such a noble thought, and only if some of us start thinking in this light, and it breaks my heart to hear because I do have firsthand experience as well, that 80% of your energies with the intentions and what you can really bring to this country, 80% of your energies are now wasted into calling out people's bullshit because we are full of fucking bullshit, right? We can talk all day long. When you talk about the substance, it's not there because this is how this entire, yeah, oh boy.
But yeah, don't worry about this too much. That's the way it is. These are not bad people. They just don't know any better. Park it, focus, and just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry. We can keep harping on this, right? Yeah, they're not good, they're bad, they're doing this, that, or the other. Fine. I cannot change them. So let's not worry about it. Just stay focused on your path. Just carve your path and just bring the change that you can.
It reminds me of that saying Jimmy Dean said once, I cannot control the direction of the wind, but I can most definitely work with my sails.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Very profound. Yeah.
So that's something so powerful. So you're positive, you're resilient, you don't mind whatever is coming the way because you have a clarity as to what your life's work is and what your purpose is. The question that I have, right? Do you get the nights or days where you doubt, where you are like, what have I got myself into, or where your motivation levels are not where you would be like, okay, I don't want to get out of the house, or I don't want to get out of the bed? Or do you face those times? Because I can speak from my personal experiences. There are mornings where I'm like, oh my God. But what, and I'm connecting it with something you said at the beginning of the episode, right? Is that, are you emotionally attached with the problem? That, the two questions you talked about. So, yeah, do you go through those phases?
So I think, yeah, that's why, when I was talking about the startup council, right? You come to us, what problem are you solving and why you're solving is so critical. In any startup, in any venture, the way we are operating, you are going to have 9 bad days and 1 good day. I can almost guarantee you with almost any startups, right? Almost any startup, it is going to be this way. So when it's going to be that, unless you are mission driven, you will not survive. And that's one of the reasons most of the startups that you see, they go under, right? And so that's why it's important to know why you're doing what you're doing. And I feel like right now, at this stage in the game, my mission is bigger than I am. So, I mean, what are they going to do, kill me? What else, right? So let's just focus on it and just keep driving, and things will happen.
I see a lot of passion. I see a lot of passion.
I think it's a need, it's a necessity, and it's a responsibility. No more, no less. Just stay focused and just keep driving.
Other people doing something in this area which is noticeable or admirable, or like something that can be taken as sort of like a step in the right direction?
So one good thing about Pakistan in the last 2.5, 3 years, I have been very, very fortunate. At least a couple of people every week I meet, they have the same mindset. What can I contribute? What I can do? Some of them lack little exposure, little knowledge, right? Little experiences and different things. But I don't doubt their passion and the sincerity, honesty, and what they want to do. So there are tons of people. Now the people, those who have the vision, those who have the experiences, they have seen the world, it's their responsibility to bring them to the same table and kind of guide them in the right direction. And just set the path and see how many follow.
That's a startup of its own.
Yeah.
Being able to bring all
Yes.
of those people.
Yes. Yeah. You tell me.
With all of these mighty egos, and I think it's unfortunate, and I think they don't do it intentionally. I agree with you. And the only thing that keeps me sane and keeps me going as well is that it's their reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is their
same thing I was
reality,
talking about
you know?
my parents, right? They told me this, that, or the other. And 20 years later, I was thinking, man, my mom should have done this. My father should have done that. No, that's all the information they had at the time, and they made the best decision they could. So I can't blame them. So same thing with these people, right? They're saying things. I don't doubt their sincerity, their honesty, but this is all they know. So let's take it to help them get to the next level.
I want to just make a comment on that, right? The mindset that you're talking about, right? So this saying I came across a while back, that if you ought to conquer anything, conquer your mind.
Yeah.
Because all of your wins live here, all of your losses, all of your friends, all of your enemies, all of your fears, all of your desires, everything live here. If you conquer this, you will be doing yourself a massive favor. And everything that you talked about, that despite the fact that there are challenges, you acknowledge it, you don't ignore it, you acknowledge it, you let it just go through you as an emotion, and then you say, okay, what can I do? How can I overcome this?
Right.
You are doing your own self a favor in that. You're not just giving other people the pass
Yes.
for their action. And it is something, a beautiful self-love. I look at it as a self-love element, that you can actually do that for your own self to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
So, the conversation has been phenomenal, and we can just sit here all day long. As whenever we sit down, we can
Yeah,
discuss
right.
all of these things in greater details. I want to actually touch on this last piece, which probably will bring our conversation to sort of like a summary. So you are passionate about this problem. It's a necessity. You are solving it. Also, you are creating an ecosystem, and you are promoting entrepreneurship. So talk about the entrepreneurial ecosystem or startup ecosystem. In Pakistan, it's relatively new. It's very young. Yes, we have some sort of like, stories and some companies who came in and just followed what investors wanted, and they just went out there and they just learned a great deal. In your opinion, in an ideal world, if there was to be the true essence of the startup, okay, a startup ecosystem, true essence of a startup ecosystem. And again, I want to touch on another thing actually. A lot of people think that, building a startup is about just a business, or it's just building a company. In my opinion, it's not, right? Because again, we talk about that you find a problem which you're passionate about. No one else has been able to crack the nut. You just go about, hell bent, you are going to solve it. So in an ideal world, in Pakistan's startup ecosystem, what would that ecosystem look like to you?
I look at it this way. Industrial revolution came in, right? And humans were working for almost thousands of years to build it up. So it's like from the kindergarten to the 12th grade and the college. Then you graduated, then you start making things. So last century was when we graduated, right? And that happened. And industrial revolution was most economy of a scale type thing. If I can make one, I can make thousands. And they brought us to a certain level. Then we got stalled. So if you think from manufacturing in those parts, things have not changed much in the last 40, 50 years. It's the technology, electronics and all that has brought the change, but all the other stuff is still stagnated. So there was a vacuum in going to the next level. What you needed was huge capital, huge infrastructure to build and create new things. Technology made this possible. I don't need the big money. I'm sitting here saying, with 50 people, I'm going to solve Pakistan's healthcare problem, right? That was not possible. This is an opportunity for a short window, maybe 20, 30, 40 years, maybe that. I don't think even that. This will mature. Then we have to move on to something else. So let's not build the ecosystem startup structure, thinking it's going to be 500 years, going to carry us. No, no, no. Think in terms of short. It is short-lived. In this time, we need to bring the nation to the next level and be ready for the next path. And we don't know what that next path is. A short story, if I may take a couple of minutes. When Eisenhower, he finished his second term as a president, and he was at the White House getting ready to leave, and it was the last interview that was going on. At the last question the reporter asked, she goes, you grew up in Texas in a very well-off family. Whatever you wished, you wanted and desired, you had it. Not a problem. You went to school, and that is high school. Your picture is still on the wall. You scored high points, and nobody has been able to touch that. So your picture is still on the wall, and there the tradition is whoever gets the highest point, their picture comes on the wall. Then you went to West Point. You got the Sword of Honor. Then you became the general of the biggest army in the world. Then you won the biggest conflict of the world, Second World War. Then you became the president of the biggest country ever, twice. Now do you have any desires left? He was quiet for a very long time. And then he said, I wish I was my grandson John's age and lived long enough to see the wonders of 21st century. We are living that time. We are living his dream. The good part is that we are living his dream. The bad part is this change is so rapid, so fast, we have no clue what the 30 years is going to bring. So we have to be nimble. We have to be flexible. We have to catch up with the world to stay at par with the world. So I think this is an opportunity, a threat, the best of times and the worst of times, however you want to see it.
Thank you so much for sharing the wisdom, and it was just refreshing. I got a lot of emotions throughout the conversations as well. Perhaps is the way you were articulating things. You know, one of the things what we talk about with Podcast for Phoenixes is the 3% redefining possible, right? And at the end of the conversations, we are asking our guests that what are the 2 key traits, in your opinion, that should be a part of the toolkit of a person who is set out to redefine what's possible, right? So the last guest, they shared that it should be updating your reference models on an ongoing basis. So the message that you just shared resonated with that key message. And then they said that you should be questioning. You should be questioning everything, asking why it is the way it is, right? So these are the 2 sort of traits you should have in your toolkit. What are the 2 traits you think should be a part of the toolkit, which we will be presenting it to our next guest for them to leave it for the one coming after? So what do you think those 2 things should be the fundamental core as per your view?
So there are 2 parts. One is, somebody said, in order to be successful in life, you got to have 3 C's. You have to commit, you have to concentrate, and you have to collaborate. When you are at something, you must be there 110%. Don't wishy-washy it. Just do your best what you're doing when you're doing it.
Don't half-ass it.
Don't half-ass it. Yeah. Aapne to ye kaha tha and I did that. No. You should think 15 times before you move on. Commit. If you are trying to learn something, you have to hit 5,000 balls of golf before you can hit one, right? So you have to commit. You cannot do anything in isolation. You have to learn. This is what we humans do. So in order to be successful in life, just have to have these 3 things, 3 C's: commit, collaborate, and concentrate. That's one part of it. The world has changed, and it's changing. I have no clue what the world is going to be like 10 years from today, right? The only way to keep up is keep enhancing your skills. Even as of today, I spend 15-20% of my time educating myself. I'm afraid if I don't do that, I'll be left behind. I think these are the two important things that we need to keep with ourselves. Be excellent at something. And in order to be excellent at something, you got to have the 3 C's, and just keep educating yourselves. We don't know what tomorrow is going to be like. The change is so fast. It's going to take another 100 years before we stabilize. And until that time, it's going to be transition, and we just need to be ready for that.
We need to be agile. We don't need to just keep on building companies. We need to find the problems that are worth solving.
Right.
And just build something which is impact driven, and give your heart to it, and do it because it's a necessity, and just get on with it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure is all mine. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.